What's up, Rivals? My name's Swords, and today we're going to be talking about Rivals' newest heroes, Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic. I reached Grandmaster 1 in Season 0 ranked, so you're going to be getting a higher ranked player's perspective of how I think you should be playing these heroes. I've also been a part of the early access test build for Season 1, and I've been playing her myself these last couple days. First, we're going to be talking about Invisible Woman, who most of you are going to find out right away has a lot of abilities. Because of that, make sure you rebind your abilities to whatever makes sense to you right away. Let's talk about what her abilities are first. Then, let me explain how you can use them in your matches. Her passive ability allows you to go invisible if she remains out of combat for about 5 seconds. This is really good for regrouping with your team if they get wiped. Now you have two primary ways of healing your team. That's what your primary fire and your shield. Your primary fire exerts psionic force forward and backward to Invisible Woman, dealing damage or healing both ways. It's actually pretty good without being too oppressive. It's especially great for when you can heal your team and damage the enemy at the same time, because the additional damage really helps out. Her shield ability can be placed on any ally within range, and being close to it also heals them over time. The big thing with this shield is that you need to recall it when it's not being used so it can recharge, because if it breaks, you have to wait for it to be fully recharged before you can use it again. Her vortex ability shoots a field of psionic damage that detonates on impact or on press, allowing you to detonate it early if you really wanted to. This pulls enemies closer to it and does damage over time. It's a great ability to combo together with your team and help your duelists secure KOs. Her force physics ability allows her to push or pull enemies, and this does really good burst damage. Note that you push enemies further away than when you pull them. A push is 10 meters and a pull is 5 meters. You can use this defensively to push divers away from you, push people off the map, or pull enemies off of higher ground. It has a lot of utility in situational scenarios, so be aware of what you can do. Her escape ability is one of the best in the game, allowing her to turn invisible after a double jump, disappearing from view and giving her a chance to escape and reposition. Her quick melee has a 3-hit combo that pushes the enemy away on your 3rd hit. Most people might think this is useless, but I already figured out how you can use it in certain situations with this tech I found. So if an enemy is close enough or unaware, you can quick melee between each of your primary attacks, and at the end of the combo, follow up with a push to finish them off. You can also throw in your sonic vortex for extra damage. This is pretty hard to pull off in a 1v1, so don't try this against a diver. But in certain situations, it may help. Her team up in the first half of Season 1 is with Mr. Fantastic, allowing him to activate an ability that grants him damage resistance. Her ultimate ability creates a huge field that keeps your team invisible from enemies outside of the field, heals your teammates to the point where it counters many ultimates like Psylocke or Star-Lord, and slows any enemy that enters the field. This is a great ability to counter enemy ultimates or use during big team fights. She's actually pretty fantastic, and y'all are gonna have a lot of fun learning how to play her. Now let me tell you her playstyle. Invisible Woman is not a main healer. She does not do enough healing on her own to reliably keep the team up in the same way Luna or Dagger can. Instead, you need to focus on being a playmaker for your teammates and setting them up for success. You can do this because you can grant specific allies a shield that heals, and you get a damage ability that can be used to help that ally eliminate their target. You also have a force ability to push or pull enemies where you want them. You should be trying to put them in a bad spot. Using both the shield and her primary fire to heal is essential. Without using both, you're going to notice your teammates' health to drop quick. The key is to prioritize your duelists with the shield. It's very good for your duelists and helps make their job a lot easier. So make sure to manage your shield health as a resource and recall it when it's not being used, because your shield is probably the most valuable part of your kit next to your ultimate. Pay attention to what your shield health is. Spread this across your team for your duelists when they're attacking a target, and for your strategists when they're being attacked in the back. As Invisible Woman, you're one of the best strategists to deal with divers right now, so they better hope they can swim if they're coming for you. Let me tell you that your days of Iron Fist and Black Panther being a menace are over. How can they attack what they cannot see? Let's talk about how you can defend yourself and your friendly strategist if you're attacked. You should focus on pushing your threat away and double jumping to go invisible so you can reposition it somewhere more safe. That is your go-to defensive combo. Additionally, you can also throw a Psionic Vortex on the ground if you feel you need to, right before you go invisible. Always give your other strategists a shield if they're being pressured so you can keep them alive and safe. It's easy to get overwhelmed by her kit in the beginning, but don't fall victim to heal botting in the back. Keep using her entire kit to get value for the team. The biggest focus is to set up plays for your duelist, protect your strategist, and find opportunities to add extra damage with your vortex against who your team is targeting. Your double jump is great for repositioning and getting ready to make plays, but it's more important as an escape, so don't use this ability if you don't need to. Your ultimate ability is best used to counter enemy ultimates. The healing output of her ultimate is enough to counter a majority of ultimates in the game, except against strong burst damage ultimates such as Iron Man or Scarlet Witch. While it can be used offensively, I think it's better to save this for team fights or use it to counter enemy ultimates. She is really cool, and I had a lot of fun playing her, and I hope y'all do too. But now it's time to talk about Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic's primary attack is like an elastic punch. The key to understand is that you can hit multiple opponents with each attack, so you should focus on swiping between enemies for each punch to maximize your damage output. His alternate fire allows you to grab an enemy, then use your primary fire to grab them with your other hand to bring them closer to you. You can also grab one enemy, then use your primary fire to grab another and deal damage to them both. His passive ability is a resource that charges from damage. When it reaches 100, you enter a Vanguard state at 800 health and with more damage. You also cannot use your other abilities in this state, but you can cancel this at any time. It is a really strong state to be in, and you do a whole lot of damage in this state. One of his best abilities is his dash, which can only be used on enemies or allies. He pulls himself close to his target, doing damage to enemies and granting shields to allies. He also grants shields to himself either way. It's also the best way to quickly charge your passive to enter his Vanguard state. It charges your passive for 30, which is a lot. He can only use this movement ability with a target and not in his own. That's friendly targets and enemy targets. So at least always stay close enough to your team. His defensive ability absorbs damage and returns fire based on incoming damage. It does not convert total incoming damage, but it definitely returns a lot at your target, so make sure to aim at a target while in this state. It's useful for when you get really low and need to back up to your team. His team up is with Invisible Woman, which gives him a new ability to reduce incoming damage. His ultimate ability inflates him into a large build where he bounces up and down in a large area for decent damage. It's not the most damage, but it's probably good for using in a team fight on an objective or comboed together with another ultimate. Mr. Fantastic is a duelist Vanguard hybrid, but do not mistake him for a Vanguard, because without his defensive ability, he will get melted. Now, let me tell you how to play him. Mr. Fantastic is a brawler. He wants to brawl in the fight together with the team. The goal is to build up your passive so you can enter your Vanguard state where you can get up close and do some serious damage. The key is to hit multiple opponents at once with each of your attacks to maximize your damage. If you're not doing this, you're not using your attacks to their fullest value. You are going to dominate if you play like that. Look for angles into the enemy where you can punch enemy duelists and strategists at range, and always peel for your teammates with your dash so you can shield them and yourself. The shields help a lot and allow you to seriously keep teammates in the fight. Pay attention to any of your teammates getting dived so you can save them. All you really want to do is get to a good position within line of sight of your strategist and within range of the enemy, and just punch multiple enemies at once to build up your passive. Once it's at around 70 or higher, you can dash toward an enemy to do enough damage to enter your Vanguard state and do a lot more damage up close. Whenever you're at low health, just use your defensive ability and your team should be able to heal you back up as you walk back to them. But once this ability ends, stick close to your team and wait for the cooldown to be over before you get back to brawling. Your rotation should be to build your passive with damage, pull yourself close when your passive is almost full, do as much damage as you can in Vanguard state, then use your defensive ability to walk back to your team when you get low. Your ultimate ability should be used when enemies are at half health or lower to get the most value. Save it for that or during a team fight. You can spread your damage across the team around a large area, so be mindful of where you are, but don't put yourself in a bad position. Make sure you can get back to your team and that you don't exit this state in a bad spot. Your biggest weakness is going to be enemies at range such as Hela, Iron Man, or Storm, because they're out of your reach and you lack the mobility to get close. So be careful against those kinds of enemies. Positioning is going to be really important as Mr. Fantastic, so don't overextend and put yourself in a bad situation. Play to your strengths, feel for your teammates, and make space. With that being said, that's all there is to Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. Let me know how y'all are playing them and enjoying Season 1 in the comments below. I will see y'all next time in the next video. Thank you so much, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.